Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos, joined, as always, by head coach Tom Sawyer. It's the solar eclipse version of the show. I think we can take these glasses off now. The eclipse is all done, but...
that was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
It was really fun. There was thousands of people around campus today, and it was really fun, and we were out there and watched it for about an hour, and with the glasses, as well as pinhole boxes and all kinds of fun stuff. So enjoyed that day today.
Yeah, and it's the first day of school for Winona State on Monday the 21st. So.
Yeah, so there's a lot of those kids looking for their classes, so it was like looking for the eclipse for some of those freshmen walking around.
I suppose. Well, another season of the Tom Sawyer Show, and we want to thank Wellington's Pub and Grill for sponsoring the show this year, and so we're doing the first show on location here at Wellington's. Tom, I got to ask you, I know that this is a question that you don't like answering, but I always ask you this anyway. Preseason poll comes out. Warriors are ranked 6th. Do you think that that's a fair ranking for the Warriors for this year?
You know, I do. I think that's fine. I mean, obviously, you always wish it was a little bit higher, but there's really only one poll that matters to me, and that's the one at the end of the year. But, you know, where we are in the South Division, that's more important. To get a conference championship in here, we have to win the South. And so that's the poll that I'm most concerned about, and we're 4th there. And I think that's, coming off of last year, and 3 teams were 8-3. I thought that that's kind of whoever picked it last, kind of where you end up. But polls don't mean a whole lot, but it's one of those irritants. We put it on the board and keep it up there so our kids can look at it.
If you look at the overall NSIC, there were 5 different teams that got first place votes, but the team that got the most first place votes didn't get the most numbers overall. It's kind of like, winning the Electoral College and not the popular vote. What does that say about the NSIC that many teams are getting first place votes?
That's how powerful the league is. As we continue to grow in this league, it's like what we've talked about many years ago. This is what we wanted. We wanted a conference that is as good as any in the country. We have that. We have a team that is split in 2 divisions, which we like. I wish we had some non-conference opportunities. That's the only thing I dislike about having a 16-team league. But our league is very strong. We have now opened up our scholarship to 36 full scholarships starting next fall. So we have some work to do in scholarship development. But more importantly, we're now a premier conference, one of the best in the country, and it's fun to be a part of.
You mentioned 8-3 last year. Very good defense. You have to replace some pieces on offense. We'll maybe talk a little bit more about that when your assistant coaches come on. But let's talk about maybe some of the new guys that are coming in. Who are some of the new names that we should be watching for this year?
Well, I think that we kind of start out on the defensive side with Adonis Brown. He's a corner. He's 6'2.5", 6'3". He's long. He's athletic. He played at Northwest Missouri as part of a national championship team down there. He transferred in, sat a year because of some transfer rules, and he's one of the leaders back there right now. So as a new player, he's one of the best. We also have a young man named Luke Teague that transferred in from St. Joseph College. They dropped their whole school. I mean, they shut the doors on the school, and he was an all-conference player down there. It's a Division II conference in Indiana, and so he came in. So he's a nice surprise on the defensive side. I think offensively, right now we're most surprised by Javian Roebuck. He came in this spring at running back. He's fantastic. You'll see a lot of him during the year this year. Then we got a couple transfer wide receivers too, and we'll see how that plays out. Isaiah Franson and Marley Allison, both Division I level kids. And then we have a tight end that we're really, really excited about, Dustin Iverson, who transferred from North Dakota. So even though we really don't like the Sioux that much, whatever their new name is, but he's a great player, and we had some association with him in recruitment. So glad that he's here because he changes our team on the offense.
All right, you talked a little bit about the running backs, Javian Roebuck, who's coming in. You lose Paul Preston to graduation this year. You have Eric Berth coming back. You have Javian Roebuck. Are those two going to kind of split carries? How are things looking in the running back situation?
Well, we'd like to play one, if we get one, but it's nice to have 2 big kids like him and Eric Berth, and a kid that's really kind of rising up this fall is Landon Jacobson. And he's really, really doing a nice job, and he's from Grand Meadow and was part of the state high school championship, and he had to sit all of last year with an injury. So he's back. He's one of the kids that I count on the most right now in the room. So we really have 3 big kids that can run, block, and do all the things that we need to, especially to take care of Darren Beacon.
Again, we'll talk more about the offense with Cameron Keller, but quarterback situation. Jack Nelson goes away, and I think he's actually, is he on your staff? I see him listed.
Yeah, he's coaching our tight ends. Yeah, he's coaching our tight ends, and maybe something could still happen. Yeah. There's still some action with him, with both the NFL and the CFL. But Darren Beacon is a kid that he's done everything right, and he's been here 5 years, just waiting for an opportunity, and now it's here. So he'll show up. He's ready to go, and I'm excited to have him. And then there's competition behind it. And I know Coach Keller probably talk more about it as well, but excited to see Darren, who deserves that opportunity.
Just kind of on the surface, do you draw any parallels? We like to do that in the media. Do you draw any parallels to when Jack Nelson took over the program, where you had a bunch of quarterbacks after Tagland, and you weren't exactly sure what was going to happen with them? Is that kind of the same situation you're in now this year?
No, we anticipated this. I think the battle really is at the second and third guy, and there's really 3 guys for sure, maybe even 4 that are battling for that spot. So we have Owen Burke, a kid from Owen Burke, I should say, from Colorado, but he's got a big arm. And then John Rumsa from Blooming Prairie, who set all kinds of passing records over there. But so there's a battle going on, and there's even a freshman, Jace Labuda, that's an unbelievable kid from Menominee, Wisconsin. So that our future is really good. So at that time, we were like, okay, we got to find a freshman that can play. Right now, I feel 4 kids can go on the field and do what we need them to do.
All right, let's talk just a little bit about defense and who you have as a coach. Mike Cunningham leaves. He goes to the defending national champion, so that's pretty good that your guy is going to go to one of the top programs. And then Joe Holtzclaw comes in, which I believe he was actually interviewed at the same time Mike Cunningham was interviewed. Didn't get the job at Winona State, went elsewhere, and now he's here. So where do you go for the offensive line coaches?
Well, we really feel good about Joe Holtzclaw. He came in this spring, so he's been here. The rest of the family just moved in last week, but he's ready to go. He's made a good. He's got a good rapport with the players that are coming back. We have a senior-led group there, so there's a lot of maturity in that room. So they accepted him, even though they've had 4 coaches over their 5 years. But yeah, we did interview Joe before, and he was a guy that we seriously considered. And then when he applied this time, it took us no time. We brought him in and hired him within a week. And we're excited to have him here, and he's brought that stability back to that group.
We're about a week and a half from the first game, but you just had a scrimmage recently. How's the team looking after that scrimmage?
Well, I think you saw some really good things. I think the defense played exceptionally fast in that first scrimmage. That's what we anticipated. They made a lot of plays. And then the fall camp, a lot of times the defense it's not easier, but it's a little bit easier than trying to put together an offense just because of all the timing issues on the offense and assignments. But I think the defense looked exceptional. I think our offense did some nice things, and we have another scrimmage here this week, so we'll continue to grow offensively. But I feel really confident where our players are at this time.
Okay, again, we'll kind of get deep into it when Brian Curtin comes in. But your defense last year, I know that was one of the prides of the program last year, was the fact that you finished first in the NSIC in defense last season. How does it look coming back this year?
Well, that's a great accomplishment. That's 16 scholarship level teams in Division II, and to be the #1 team, it's the first time that's happened since I've been around. And very, very proud of not only the players but our coaching staff that put that together. And to be able to do that in this league, especially in the South, with those teams, it's amazing. So we have a lot of kids back. We talked about Adonis, another kid coming in, but Andrew Spencer, Ryan Kane's back there, Cole Moncton's back there. So the secondary, even though we lost a couple kids, they're still there. Mike Imperiale, first team all-conference kid. Michael Gomez, I think he's as good as anybody in the league at nose or at tackle or wherever we want to put him. And then Michael Ferrante. I mean, the quarterbacks dislike that kid because he's coming all day long. So I think our defense is really in a good place with the kids that we got coming back.
All right, one more question here in this segment. As we said, about a week and a half away from the first game. Between now and then, what still needs to be done with this team? Is it just kind of fine-tuning right now?
Well, it is. We're still searching for some kids to be that next kid in, or even a couple starting spots. But our goal right now is to be fast and healthy on game day. So we'll start, even though we're scrimmaging, the reps are going to come down. We got to get healed up. Nothing serious yet to any big magnification, but really it's an opportunity for us to just get our team ready, get as fast as we can and as healthy as we can in the next week and a half.
All right, sounds good. We're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. When we come back, we'll talk a little offense as Cameron Keller joins us right after this.
Ever wish you could just swing by the local office to pay your bill quickly rather than calling a toll-free number and speaking to a machine? When you join the HBC family, you get that and so much more with local office locations and customer care. Whether you have general questions or would like to upgrade your services, HBC is here in your community, providing an unrivaled, personalized experience. Switching is easy and installation is free, and we're so sure you'll love HBC, we offer a 30-day guarantee. Visit hbci.com to learn more or call 888-474-9995 to experience the HBC difference.
Effects has the movies.
Take a look at the wall.
Look at that.
Look, effects has the movies.
What? Hey, look, it's effects.
Effects has the movies. Effects.
This is amazing.
Effects has the movies. Effects has the movies. Effects has the movies. Effects has the movies.
Hey guys, Tyler Florence here. This season, the Great Food Truck Race is headed way down south. 7 teams navigating culinary roadblocks.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Serving hungry crowds in a race to victory. Are you ready to roll?
I'm ready. Are you ready? I don't think they're ready.
Wow.
We may start in the Big Easy, but it's a long road ahead.
All new, Sunday night at 9. The Great Food Truck Race on Food Network.
Truck, yeah!
What the heck is going on? What is the low files? My 2 boys and I were looking for UFOs.
We know you're out there.
Underwater alien bases. Bigfoot, America's secret space fleet. Poltergeist. What the was that? If you took Anthony Bourdain and Scooby-Doo and put it in a blender, you'd get the low files.
Would you get in it?
Would I get in a 1,000 horsepower go-kart that you built? No.
Nuts and Bolts is the show describing how everything that I think is awesome is made. How close are we to time travel? From what I learned, I make something from it.
Yeah. Oh, hell no.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. Joining us now to talk offense, Cameron Keller. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thanks, Justin.
Let's talk a little bit about having to replace so many things on offense. You know, starting quarterback, top running back, some wide receivers are gone, including Cam Johnson. So tell us a little bit about, you know, how your offseason was, knowing that you had to replace all those positions.
Well, it is a big challenge. We've got about 95% of our offense graduated, and you know, I think it's a testament to the program that we've been able to just continue to do the same things throughout the spring. We haven't changed our systems at all. You know, we've had guys that the next guy up mentality, and some younger guys have really stepped into some good roles. Seeing some really good things out of our wide receivers. We've got 12 guys right now that are competing for, you know, 7 or 8 spots on the bus. So it's been some really good competition. You know, Coach already alluded to the quarterback competition. We've had, you know, really 4 guys returning that have all stepped in, Darren, of course, but the other 3 really have pushed Darren this fall. And it's been fun to watch them, and it's good because every day they have to come to work and they have to be prepared. And, you know, I think what we've seen is the stability up front with our offensive line has allowed us to be able to be comfortable at some of these other positions and actually truly evaluate, because we're not making really any changes up there. And so I think for the changes to happen at those positions, that the timing with the guys up front was perfect for us.
I got to ask both of you a question, and then Coach, you can grill Coach Keller. In the past, I know that 50-50 has kind of been your goal for passing and running. Is that going to be the same this year? Do you see that changing?
I don't see why we would change. I don't think that we've taken really any steps backwards as far as the ability to throw the football. We had a bigger, taller kid playing quarterback, but we weren't really doing anything different with him. And the younger guys have stepped in, and Darren as well, that we're running all the same concepts. We're throwing the ball maybe a little bit more efficiently as a unit. They've done a nice job of getting the ball out a little quicker. That was something we really harped on this spring, was to take the pressure off the guys up front, get rid of the ball quicker. So I don't see any reason why we would change our philosophies and still continue to try to be aggressive down the field and you know, run the ball. I think we're going to be able to run the ball with a lot of success, but that opens up your play action and your quick game. So we feel pretty good about it.
All right.
Yeah, I think that along with that, Justin, that the philosophy is 50-50 over the course of the year. You got to be able to run the football, especially late in the year in this weather. But there are games when we're going to throw it 75% of the time. There's going to be games that we're going to run it 75% of the time. Clock management and all those things come into play there, but that's something we've been really good at, that when we get something, we find a weakness on the defense, we don't have to force one, just one, style of play that we can kind of melt into whoever we're playing against.
All right. Do you have a question for Coach?
Yeah, I was just going to ask Cam. Cam, why don't you share, talk about, the new offense with Coach Holtzclaw and, not the new offense, but new personalities. How's that been? Because you're the one who spends the most time with him, and in fact, he lived in your house for a while. But Tell everybody about that relationship, how important that is for you guys to be on the same page.
Well, Joe and I have a relationship that goes back almost 10 years. He was coaching at my alma mater, Hastings College, and under my previous head coach when I was working there. So that's how I got to know Joe, worked some camps with him, and we tried to get him here once. But Joe is one of those guys that maybe a little bit of different personality from Coach Cunningham, and that Coach Cunningham was a little bit more serious. Joe's a little bit more personable with those guys, and I think those guys have really kind of taken to him. He's really, really big on the teaching component, and he's done a great job, especially with the younger guys, because the older guys, a lot of it is just fine-tuning with them, but those younger guys really needed to have some more time spent with them, and we've started to see some great progress with guys like Carter Berlin, they're going to be huge parts of what we do for the next 4 years. So I think the teaching component has been really impressive, and he's just one of those guys you can sit in a meeting room with him, and he's going to give you his opinion, but at the same time, he's going to make sure that he does everything within the systems that we already have. So.
All right. We talked a little bit about the running backs in the first segment. Let's talk a little bit about the wide receivers. Has anybody come up as a top wide receiver? Is it going to be balanced again?
I think probably, the one that has really had the best fall is Elliott Cox, the one that I'm the most excited about. He's battled some injuries the last couple of years, and when we moved him from running back to wideout, we did it to try to keep his body healthy. Still kind of fought through some nagging injuries, and this is probably the healthiest that he's been, and he's having a tremendous fall camp. And then Tanner Grand, the kid from Caledonia, started 7 games last year as a true freshman, and he's been just Mr. Consistent. And so, I think we've got some other guys in Connor Schultz. Will Clausen is back, and he's been a huge part of what we've been doing. And then the 2 transfers with Isaiah Franzen and Marley Allison. Justin Bergeron's coming off the Achilles, but he's back and healthy. Had a good day yesterday in practice. So, we have so many guys out there and so many different weapons and ways that we can use them in different parts of the field. It's going to be interesting to see how things shake out and who ends up where and who's going to end up playing the most.
All right.
Well, the last one I have is Cam, you're looking at some of those young kids and Jace Labuda in that freshman class. We have a couple running backs in that. In fact, Ben McCabe from Caledonia as well. But why don't you just give a glimpse of that group that just came in as freshmen and how talented they are?
Yeah, I would have to say that this is probably the most excited I've been about a recruiting class as a whole on the offensive side in the 7 years that I've been here. The skill positions, especially Jace Labuda and Dawson Davis. Dawson was a kid that won 9 games last year at Chautauqua, and he's got a big arm. So I feel really good about the 2 young quarterbacks. Wide receiver-wise, we brought in 5 really, really talented kids from either the La Crosse, Wisconsin area, and a couple guys out of the cities. Tyler Knutsen's had a great fall camp. Ethan Wittenberg is going to be really good for us. Caught a 75-yard touchdown the other night from Jace Labuda in the scrimmage. So it's really exciting to watch these guys. And then, the running backs, we got 5 or 6 running backs from the areas. Ben McCabe had a big career at Caledonia, rushing for 1,700 yards last year. And it's really exciting to see all those guys. And, we don't have time to list all of them because there is so many of them, but it's going to be exciting for the future to watch those guys.
We are running out of time, but I got one more question for you. It's kind of a personal question. Sure. We had done some interviews earlier this offseason that we're going to run on our pregame show, and one of the questions was, what's your crazy fact? And you mentioned that you had been a baseball umpire. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I played multiple sports coming up. I was a small-town kid from Nebraska and played football in college, and my way of staying involved in baseball was I started umpiring. And ran into some guys, worked a couple state tournaments in Legion baseball, and ended up going to umpire school. And when I was down in umpire school, at the end of my senior year in college, I got picked to the top of my class and got offered a minor league contract. And so I embarked on a 9-year professional umpire career. I had the ability to work 12 big league assignments, so I got a little taste of the big league life, which was really, really cool. It's stuff that I'll never regret my decision. But ultimately, my wife and I, we started having children and realized that the time on the road was not the most conducive to raising a family, and I had football to fall back on, so I made the decision to just focus solely on football and be at home. So
very good, very interesting. We're glad that you're here, though.
So am I.
We're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. When we come back, we'll talk defense. Brian Curtin will join us right after this.
7 hours of football start now.
touchdown from every game, every Sunday afternoon.
Northland Outdoors is about so much more than the biggest fish or the hottest hunting spots. All across the Northland, there are amazing people with incredible stories to tell. We're going to find those stories and share them with everyone. Join us each and every week as we explore the Northland and experience some of the most exciting outdoor adventures in the country right here in our own backyard. This is Northland Outdoors.
Bring on the most opinionated guys in the game.
Everybody's a critic. Everybody gets an opinion.
We used to respect wisdom. These young people today don't.
Add a few friends.
We got 6 Super Bowl rings here between the 4 of us.
And go all in.
I'm tough to block, my man. Sometimes I hit a little hard.
Did you forget that? Man with the hat.
Before the game, get the truth.
Move on, please.
Speak for yourself. Weekdays at 5 Eastern on FS1.
NASCAR racing is about a whole lot more than just cars going around a track. It's about people who drive, people who engineer, people who plan, people who know how to put it all together. Meet the people who make the cars go round every week on Raceline. Watch Raceline here every week.
This is as good as there is.
He got it. Here comes Harper. Got him. What a play. Incredible. And they got him.
That kid is unbelievable.
Now, game over.
Everything you love about baseball is on FS1.
One of the most important steps in getting into your dream home is being able to sell your existing home.
We're trying to help families get top dollar for their current place and get them into a home that works for the family.
Yes! We want to show practical steps that people could use to get that top dollar.
Wow.
It's so important to know where to spend the money when you're renovating your home to sell. You have to appeal to the most buyers possible.
Catch an all-new Property Brothers Buying and Selling. Wednesday night at 9, only on HGTV.
Welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. Again, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. Time now to talk defense. And Brian Curtin joins us. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about last season first. Top defense in the NSIC. Is there any pressure to repeat that? And how do you repeat something like that? I know it's tough.
You know, it's a different year. You know, we're just trying to be as good as we can be, and I think every year it's kind of starting over. Trying to find your identity, trying to find what each group does best. You know, we're trying to build off what we did last year. I think there's a certain amount of pride that our players took in that. But in all honesty, I don't think we realized we were at the top of the stats until towards the end of the year when Coach mentioned it. You know, we never felt like we were that good, I guess, and maybe that's why we were.
All right. Do you have captains selected for this year yet?
We don't.
No. For the whole program?
No, we haven't yet at all. You know, we just kind of wait until that last week and see how. I don't like to pick captains until we get almost to game day because we still got 10 days of work before we get into our game. So, one question I'll ask Brian right away. Talk about that defense, but you know that secondary back there, and Andrew Spencer is the biggest one. And how do you think his development has come now the last couple of years, and what are you counting on him to do this fall? He's just matured, got a grasp of what we're trying to do. I think he studies the game, he understands the game. Sometimes he sees things that because of his position and where he's at in our defense, he can't react to and things like that. And I think that's what he's learned throughout the years, that he could get himself out of position at times and make some plays for us. Mm-hmm. But I think he understands his role and how he fits in it. And I think he trusts us as coaches that we're going to put him in enough places where he can do the things he's best at. And then there's other times where, he's got to be part of the 11, if that makes any sense.
Sure. I want to ask about the spring game because it was very defense dominated. You can maybe speak to offense. Maybe it's the scoring system. Maybe it doesn't really matter. But the spring game was very defensive dominated. How did you feel about that?
Guys played hard. They made, I guess when you're still part of the whole team, you'd like to see a little more balance in the thing, But our kids played hard. They took a lot of pride in what they were doing, and had a great day.
I mean, obviously it was the top-rated defense coming back. So were you surprised to see how kind of lopsided the spring game was?
No, the spring game was practice number 15 for me. I mean, you know, it's a work in progress. We just call it a scrimmage at the end. But you know, there's some value to it because we treat it as a game. But really, we saw a lot of great things throughout the spring on both sides of the ball. It just doesn't all come together in a scrimmage. But like I said, it's day 15. Kids are kind of beat up. But without excuses, I think that it's now showing up in the fall through the new coach on the offense, but the defensive side especially, I think we've just continued to go from spring now through the summer and into the fall camp here. We're continuing to grow and getting better and better all the time.
One of the guys that Coach mentioned at the top of the show was Adonis Brown, and I know that he hasn't played since 2013 in an actual game. Is that of any concern at all, or do you think that he's that much hungrier coming in?
Well, I know he's hungry. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But, you know, part of the reason why we could be the #1 defense in the league last year is we had 2 guys out in the corner that could cover. It enabled us to be aggressive and do a lot of things that you know, put those guys, you know, like they stand on an island, put those guys one-on-one and do some you know, we could match up with people. I feel pretty confident that we're going to be able to do a lot of the same things we've done, and a lot of that's because of Adonis, and he actually brings a different element than we've had the last couple of years. Is, you know, he's not 5'8", so you know, with the tall receivers in our league, it's gonna help us.
Yeah, I think it's great. You know, he's so long. He bats down balls. Another one is Cam Gavin. He did play as a true freshman last year, but he made a play the other day that's, you think you have a kid wide open, the quarterback throws it on time, puts it right on his hands, and all of a sudden Cam comes out of nowhere and bats it down. So that's the kind of length and ability that both Adonis and Cam have. Next question I have, Brian, for you is looking at, you know, from the back to the front, how do you see the defense, you know, from obviously the secondary to the linebackers to the defensive line, from the back to the front, from your view, what really has to click together for us to be a great defense?
You know, we got to stay healthy. I think we have playmakers at every level, which I think is huge between Andrew and Cam, both kind of ball hawk type guys. You got Adonis, who's going to be doing some things. Cole's played a lot of football. Mike Imperiali's as dynamic at linebackers you're going to find in the league. And then, you know, Michael Gomez is a fantastic defensive lineman with, you know, along with Cole, who's playing as, lost some weight and is playing as good a football as we ever, you know, he's played for us, period. And you know, with Ferrante, I mean, we got playmakers at all levels, and I think as long as everybody, you know, we talk about 3 things all the time: communication, because we check a lot of things on the field and do those things. Do your job. If everybody does their job and buys into what we're trying to do and puts the team in front of themselves, we're going to be very good. And then we're going to try to take, you know, we got ball disruptions. We're going to take the ball away from people.
All right, last question I have. You had 3 shutouts last season. Is that kind of a point of you know, pride in the defense? Is that something, I mean, obviously you don't want to give up any points, but I mean, is that something that you point to this year to say, look what we did last year, let's maybe try to do that again if we can?
Well, that's always the goal. I don't know. You know, we don't look backwards a whole lot. We're trying to move forward. It's a different team, a different group of guys. You know, it was unbelievable to, you know, really to do that against 3 different teams, 3 different styles of offense. But I don't know if we look at that, and I don't think we think about it at all, to be honest with you.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for this show. Thank you guys for joining us here today. A thank you to Wellington's Pub and Grill as well, and we'll see you next week here on the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25.